Good morning, everybody, and we are live, and welcome to this edition of the NFL podcast. Here I am on video. Hopefully this video will make it to YouTube. I will try my best to get it there. So here we are. So last night, news broke that Melvin Gordon will report to the Chargers. That happened after holding out, missed training camp, and now is back. And here's a fascinating article I found. It was written by ESPN. It was written by Eric D. Williams of ESPN, and it basically kind of explains the whole situation of Melvin Gordon. And later in the episode, since Melvin Gordon came to the NFL in 2015, first round pick out of Wisconsin, I want to read you some numbers to justify, and I'll decide and make my opinion on how much money he should be worth. So, the news came out last night. That was Wednesday. It is Thursday morning as we were recording, about a little before 9 in the morning at 8:53. And Melvin Gordon is back with the Chargers. So that means his holdout's over. Yes, he will play this year. He is going to play this year. So, early in the article, Gordon thinks this year will be his final season with the Chargers, according to ESPN's Josina Anderson. So, the reason why he thinks this is going to be his final year with the Chargers is the holdout, really. The holdout. That was the biggest reason why. Was, one, he thought he was worth a certain type of money. The Chargers didn't want to pay him that much money. So he held out. And it came out a few weeks ago that the Chargers are not going to give him a contract, so it looked like he's just going to possibly even sit out the season. I mean, Le'Veon Bell did the same thing last year. Ezekiel Elliott held out and right before the season signed a contract and was ready to go. So Melvin Gordon's exactly kind of in the middle. Le'Veon Bell's offered more money than Melvin Gordon was, and we'll get to the details of the contract in a minute. And Le'Veon Bell sat out the entire year. It was clear he didn't want to play for the Steelers, who a year ago were considered to be Super Bowl contenders. Ezekiel Elliott sat out. Now the highest paid running back, not only in average value, I went at length of this 3 weeks ago, $15 million per year, but also in contract length at $90 million in total value. So if you look at the two extreme ends, Le'Veon Bell got nothing from the Steelers, got less money from the Jets than what the Steelers even offered him. He just didn't want to play for the Steelers. Or on the other side, you had Ezekiel Elliott, who held out, got all the money he was worth, highest paid in terms of league average annual salary, and total value, shattered Todd Gurley's record. So Ezekiel Elliott completely won. Melvin Gordon's in the middle, is playing, but is probably not going to play for the Chargers beyond this year, since they did not offer him the money that he wanted to. But again, they are a playoff contender. The way that New England is, it's hard to call anyone in the AFC really a Super Bowl contender. I mean, the Chargers aren't even the best team in their own division. They're 1-2, and I'm going to look at them later today. Not long after I'm done with this episode. But looking at the Chargers, sure, they're a playoff team, and sure, yeah, I think he wants to be part of this Chargers team this week. And he will not play this week. He's not ready to play. I think he is too rusty. Anthony Lynn said he will not play this week. In fact, here's a quote I want to read from Anthony Lynn from what he said, and this makes sense. Quote, I don't think you just walk in camp and just play right away without going through any practice. End quote. Lynn told reporters Wednesday. Quote, you can run and do all the drills you want, but it's hard to simulate real football. End quote. That was said by Chargers coach Anthony Lynn. So basically what he was saying is you don't just show up and expect to play right away without going through any practice. That could mean maybe you don't know the system. Maybe the reps you get in practice, you're not you're out of shape. Not that Melvin Gordon is out of shape, but you're out of game shape. You're out of physical game shape that say the players are in this year, and basically if you don't practice or whatever, it's hard to simulate real football. Has yet to do that this year. So whether the Chargers played in scrimmage, preseason, regular season, Gordon has not played at all. So that was said by Coach Anthony Lynn, who used to be a running backs coach for many, many years. So I think that's a good source to listen to. So the fines, Melvin Gordon's lost money for sure. He's lost almost $1 million for missing training camp and the first few games of the regular season. So Chargers will collect the money, and who knows what they can spend it on. Maybe it could be some other off-season piece or whatever. So he lost $1 million. So again, that's a lot of money to lose, especially this season. 5th year of his rookie contract. Is going to miss a fourth of the season as it is. Might even miss a 5th game. We don't know that yet for sure. We'll see how next week regresses. So you miss basically at least a quarter of the season, probably a little bit more than that. But long term, the $1 million that Gordon lost doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It seems like it's going to get tens of millions of dollars from somebody else. Who knows how much that could be. So he wants to be one of the highest paid running backs in the NFL. That makes sense. He wants to make as much money, or the same amount as money, as, say, a Todd Gurley or a David Johnson, who is not living up to his contract at all. David Johnson is. And Le'Veon Bell so far in the New York Jets is really off to a slow start. I saw he played against the Patriots yesterday. Did not look good at all. But small sample size, 3 games. So Gordon thinks he's as good as those guys, just as valuable as them. So is he as good as Todd Gurley? No, Gurley's better. Is he as good as David Johnson? Right now, yes, he is better than David Johnson. David Johnson is best? It's hard to say. Le'Veon Bell? No. Le'Veon Bell at his peak, when he's at his highest level, there may not be any running back in the league. When Le'Veon Bell at his highest level, you can make an argument to be the best running back in the NFL. You could even say he's the best at times. As of right now this year, no. Le'Veon Bell, I mean, you can look at how valuable running backs are this year, and would not be anywhere close to one of the top running backs in the league this year. So, small sample size. But when they're at their best, when Melvin Gordon's at his best, is he as good as Todd Gurley? No. Almost no one is. Again, Todd Gurley. You can say Todd Gurley at his very highest level is the best running back in the NFL. Certainly getting paid that way. It is hard to say. I don't think you can, in terms of running back, since it shifts around so much. Like how good, you talk about the list of Melvin Gordon, Todd Gurley, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. How relevant, if any relevance, could they have in 5 years from now? That's hard to say. Maybe lower value. That's why these running backs try to cash in now, in the middle of their careers, to get the most money they can. Since when this current contract is up, they get their guaranteed money. That's it. You know, the good story. DeMarco Murray, who 5 years ago led the NFL in rushing, got his payday, lasted 1 year in his new team, Philadelphia. Spent 2 years in Tennessee, retired, 7-year career. So there you have it. For a running back, you have to cash in pretty much right now. And this is what the Chargers offered, $10 million annual value. So I don't know the years. Maybe it's 3 years, 30, 4 years, 40. And Gordon didn't think he was worth that much. He turned it down. So they couldn't agree on a contract, really. The Chargers thought he was worth that much. Gordon thought he was worth as much as the highest paid running backs in the league, 13, 14 million. So it was clear, and the Chargers were not going to give him a contract this year anyways. So it's and what Gordon said is unlikely this will be his last year on the Chargers, just based on money value. So he's going to leave. He's going to leave the Chargers, and where he will go, I don't know. If you'd asked me a year ago, Hey, is Le'Veon Bell going to be on the New York Jets a year from now? I would have had no idea. Would have never even guessed that, or thought would have never really crossed my mind. So I have no idea where he's going to end up. You can look at all sorts of places. It's just so hard to say. I mean, I have no idea where Gordon will be a year from now. There are 31 other choices. I don't know. Is he worth more than $10 million? I'd say yes. So now I want to dive into numbers, since I'm a numbers person. So this is since 2015, and I gave credit to the last article written by Eric D. Williams. Thank you, Eric D. Williams of ESPN. Now I want to say that this current information I got it from Pro Football Reference. So it's played 4 full years. We're not counting this year. It's obviously sat out already this year. And in 4 seasons, 2015 through 2018, it's played in 55 of the possible 64 games. So it's missed 9 games. So it's missed games due to injury already. And I looked at the list. Almost no running backs playing 64 games over 64 years. They have to rest for some reason, whether they're playoff contenders and they just need a game. They'll probably rest towards the end of the year, or they're going to get hurt at some point or another. They're going to miss a game or two. That's just the way it is. So it's played in 54. So he's missed 9 games. So you could say, okay, maybe durability is somewhat of a concern. Okay. Has 3,628 rushing yards in 4 seasons. Okay, so per season, that's about 900 per season. And you're factoring the missed games, so when healthy, probably can get over 1,000 yards in a season. So he didn't rush for any touchdowns in his rookie year. Yet, or total touchdowns, is at 38 in the last 3 years. So minus his rookie year, is at 28 rushing touchdowns. So the numbers. So he's 4th in carries since 2015 behind Lamar Miller, who's in Houston now but will miss this year, so as a lost season. One of those years was spent in Miami. Frank Gore, who consistently just puts up average numbers, just gives you something every year. Did that in Indianapolis. And of course Todd Gurley, who at times you could say, if you got any running back over the last 5 years, it would be Todd Gurley. So 6th in rushing yards since he entered the league. 6th, Todd Gurley's first, obviously. Okay, so in terms of those total numbers, is not way high up there on the list. And granted, systems will vary. He had Philip Rivers as quarterback, so the Chargers maybe are more likely to pass. Maybe don't need to run as much. So we can't put that against them too much. But still, that's good. That's solid. That's consistent. Factoring the games missed, he's going to give you 1,000 yards a season. That is productive. So is 8th in yards per game, 65.3. Okay, so that's, I don't have a calculator with me, but that's approximately 1,000 yards a game, 100 yards a game, or not 100 yards a game, I'm sorry. That would translate into a little over 1,000 yards per season, right there. So that's good. I think that's a solid number. Ezekiel Elliott's first, rushes for almost 100 yards a game, which is why he rushes for close to 1,600 yards in a full season. And Le'Veon Bell is second. And look at Le'Veon Bell. It was astonishing of how many games he missed. One was suspended at times, missed games due to injury, and in 2018 sat out the entire season. So if Le'Veon Bell, it's fascinating by what he could have done if he was fully healthy the last 4 or 5 years and did not sit out. And fun stat, this is since 2015. Ezekiel Elliott's second in the NFL in rushing yards, has just barely over 4,000, and is well over 4,000 now counting this year. This was just 2015 through 18, despite being at Ohio State and missing 6 games in 2017. We all know why. So he's played in just 40 of the possible 64 games, and is still basically missed almost a year and a half worth of time. College season doesn't count, but still. Since entering, that is remarkable. That's something really remarkable that I wanted to throw out. Okay, and now this is 28 rushing touchdowns since 2016, tied for second in NFL with Ezekiel Elliott. Todd Gurley, no surprise, once again first. And is 5th in rushing attempts and 5th in yards per game. So, he gets the ball a lot. It's clearly a 1,000-yard per year rusher. So looking at those numbers is quite valuable, quite valuable. And it's very productive. And at times you can say he's one of the better running backs in the NFL. You could say, and numbers, I don't think they mean everything. I mean, it just really depends on the system. Like, Phillip Rivers is someone who could throw for well over 4,000 yards. The Patriots for years have not had a type of running back they can say, wow, they're one of the very best in the league who puts up some of the very best numbers in the league. They haven't had that. I can't tell you how many running backs the Patriots have had. So I think it really depends on the system, and it works great for the Patriots. So looking at that, looking at those figures, obviously shows productiveness. Obviously good numbers. So Gordon thinks deserves to be one of the highest paid running backs in the league. And those are very nice numbers. It's clearly a valuable player. Clearly, at times, is right up there with Todd Gurley. In class with Ezekiel Elliott. Even Le'Veon Bell when he's on the field and not holding out. And is productive. It's not been the case this year. So right then and there. In total, since then, maybe you can say Melvin Gordon's a top 3 running back, since many running backs have come and gone since then. So looking at that, how much is he worth? So the Chargers said he was worth $10 million a year. Okay? So obviously they're trying to save money. They're trying to do a discount. Melvin Gordon thinks he's worth, again, the classes of Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, $13-14 million per year. So expects to get that much money. So what do I think? Well, I don't think it's as good as I don't think it's as good as Todd Gurley or Ezekiel Elliott. They're in a class of their own. But I think you could definitely put in the top 5 running backs. And in total, 32 teams, there's probably 64 running backs that get consistent playing time. And then, there's these pass-catching running backs or whoever. So in total, there's probably almost 100 running backs that will see the field this year. Who knows? Probably even more than that. I mean, who knows? But of all the running backs in the National Football League, and the top 5 running backs 5 years ago, if you made a list, is drastically different than it is, say, now. And 5 years from now, will be even more different. So how much is Melvin Gordon worth? I think what he says, probably about $13-14 million a year. And it's going to come from somebody else. It's not going to come from the Chargers. That is pretty much decided. So where it'll go, I have no idea. I do not know. But regardless, he's going to get paid this offseason if he can stay healthy. If he gets hurt, might come back to the Chargers. And could be franchise tag. There's all sorts of scenarios out there. Whatever happens, is playing this year, has about 10, 11 games to show what he's worth in a season. And maybe the Chargers will reconsider their offer and will pay him what is needed to keep him. Maybe they'll change their mind. But the Chargers are not worried about extending his contract this year. So we'll see. I think it is possible he can go back to the Chargers if the Chargers change their mind. But the point is, at right now, they're not at an agreement. Since the Chargers did not pay him what he wanted, and Gordon not take the money of what the Chargers wanted, so they're at a disagreement. So maybe they'll figure something out in the offseason, or if there's a team that offers more money than the Chargers, Gordon's going there, whoever that may be. So that's it on Melvin Gordon for now. Later on, I might want to do a segment on Daniel Jones. So I'll try to find another episode. I might do another episode even later today. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.